afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Smelling Tea. I am your host, Tiffany Daniels. And folks, we're going back to my obsession of how people are covering the FDA overturn, the ban of the I can't talk. The overturn of the FDA ban on shocking disabled people for being disabled. So, folks, this is coming from UPI.com, and I swear to God, I can feel the ableism and the hatred for people with disabilities bleeding off of this page. So, expect a rant. Now, as always, when we are discussing the JRC, you will hear vivid descriptions of and sometimes see clips of video surveillance of people with disabilities being tortured and abused. If you have young children present, please use your headphones. Also, as always, you will find the link in the description as well as other pertinent links to the Stop the Shock campaign. Most importantly, the link to the templates for you to reach out to your senators to help end this torture, because that's what it is, UPI. It's torture. But we will go ahead and read it. Look at this title. Court ruling says Boston area school can use shock devices to protect students. Protect them! It's protecting them. See, that's a new one for me. You're using a torture device designed to hurt them, to protect them. It's all good. We gotta protect them from themselves and from hurting us. No, you son of a bitch. A federal court has struck down a ban by government regulators that attempted to force a Massachusetts special needs school to stop using controversial electroshock devices to keep some students with disabilities from harming themselves and others. Okay, the first paragraph. Okay. Kyle. You don't know what you're talking about. You ableist piece of human refuse. First of all, you can take your special needs PC bullshit and shove it up your ass. You're all more caring about the terms we call ourselves than obviously of kids being tortured, because it's okay if they're hurting themselves and they're banging their heads and they could be a danger to others, then it's okay to shock them to make them stop, right? No. If your kid is engaging in some risky behavior, like drug abuse, for example, is it a good idea to then proceed to punch and beat them down into the ground because you're protecting them from hurting themselves with their drug abuse? No, Kyle. No. Guess what? We're humans too, whether you people want to admit it or not. And we deserve a hell of a lot better than to be painted in a computer with your cute little terms and then be left to die. And you people will comfort them yourselves with the idea of, but we were protecting them. Bullshit. The 2-1 ruling says the Food and Drug Administration overstepped its authority in issuing the ban last year. Complete bullshit. They've been regulating medicine for fucking eons, and now all of a sudden they're overstepping their authority? Excuse me? Which was aimed at halting the practice at the Judge Rotenberg Education Center in Canton, Mass, near Boston. As they should. God, what's wrong with people? The school has been using devices for decades to keep students with intellectual and emotional disabilities from engaging in various dangerous behaviors, like being aggressive towards others or physically injuring themselves. Okay, so in your mind, as long as it's treatment, and as long as it is keeping those kids from engaging in actions that makes you the neurotypical son of a bitch garbage human being from feeling uncomfortable for 5 seconds, then it's okay, right? Who cares if we're being tortured, right? We're just animals, right? Go to hell, Kyle. For years, critics who have included individuals, federal regulators, and even the United Nations have called for the school to stop using the devices, and the FDA issued its ban more than a year ago. Think about that, Kyle. Think about that. If the UN Special Rapporteur on Torture tells you it's torture, then guess what it is, pal? I'm just saying. After the FDA ban, doctors at the school petitioned the court to allow the practice to continue, and some relatives at the students at the school have also supported the use of the shock devices. Of course they have, because they have convinced these parents that it's the only way. These parents have mistaken trauma and shock reactions from their kids, and those fake smiles have convinced them that their kid is better because their kids are no longer engaging in those behaviors that made them uncomfortable. They're traumatized. There's a person standing 6 feet behind them with a remote control with a picture of their face on that remote control. It's very much comply or you know what happens, don't you? Yeah. The school has employed the practice for decades and has spent several hundreds of thousands of dollars lobbying to maintain the shock devices. Yeah, let's spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on continuing to advocate to torture kids instead on actual medical interventions. Okay, Karen, Kyle, whatever the hell you call yourself, which resemble a fanny pack with wires that connect to the patient student. Staff can deliver shocks via remote control. Yeah. Officials at the school say all of the students who are subject to the shock devices are adults, although many were children as staff began using the devices on them. At least you can admit that much. At least you can admit that much. So, are we saying in UPI that it is okay to use these torture devices on children? As long as they're disabled, right? School, I don't even want to talk about Michael Fleming. I will lose my shit. I put him in the same category as Kaplan and the rest of AH's freaking sideshow circus. Opponents think, yes, I'm going to talk about the people who have logical sense. Opponents say shock devices can cause long-term damage. The United Nations equated the practice to torture. It's not once equated. The UN hasn't suddenly been convinced that they were wrong. Okay, Karen? Kyle. Not only are you solidly on their side, you are trying to downplay that the UN has demanded with every subsequent single freaking president since fucking Bush to get this investigated. They did it with W. They did it with Obama. They did it with Trump. And I'm pretty sure they're going to do it with Biden as well. Every single administration. Okay? It's not they once said. No, they've been consistent. And two different special rapporteurs on torture have said the same thing. Well, at least they got Shane Neumeyer on this. This approach involves a lot of dehumanization, an idea that you're basically training a dog, Shane Neumeyer, an attorney for former students, said, according to the Times. Amen. Or you're trying to get a person to do what you want rather than follow their own goals and get their own needs met. Preach, brother, preach. In 2002, an 18-year-old student at the school was zapped for not taking off his jacket in an accident that was recorded on video. The school was sued and ultimately settled with the family out of court. It's terrifying that this can happen to people, Sam Crane of the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network said, according to the Times. Some parents of students at the school support the use of the shock devices. Oh God, no, we're going to have... But his behavior was totally changed. You're better now. You're better now. That's called being... Trauma causes shock. We're talking psychological shock. Okay? Your kid isn't fucking better. He's doing what he has to do to not get abused even worse. And the fact that you can't see that and read through the lines means you should never have been a parent. In its ruling, the court said the FDA ban interfered with doctors at the school practicing medicine, which is regulated by the state. Which is a bunch of garbage. They are not practicing medicine. They are practicing pseudoscience. Why at the Judge Rotenberg Center is this considered medicine when the wider medical community abandoned this practice years ago, decades ago? Just saying. Alright, well, clearly, like so many outlets, we all can see who UPI sides with. So, we're just going to let it go at that. UPI apparently doesn't care for disabled kids. They mention nothing about the fact that 82% of those kids that are in that school are people of color who come from poor families, who come out of all kinds of situations and are sent to this school. Yeah. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and sign off here and take a breath before my next video. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few that we do tend to get removed from time to time. So folks, please don't forget to hit that like button. Hit subscribe. Don't forget to hit the comments. I do appreciate your time this afternoon, and as always, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. Bye-bye.